Good afternoon. I'm John DiMaio, the Assembly Republican leader. It's good to spend some time with you folks this afternoon. As usual, the governor and the Democrats are more interested in protecting and expanding government programs and less interested, as we are the Republicans that are working to protect your money and to protect your family's way of life. Government spending increased more than $16 billion since Governor Murphy took office, and taxes have been raised 60 times, but people are still waiting for their anchor check. Quite frankly, that's unacceptable. A lot of these applications were in, and 30 days later they should have had checks out after each application was brought in, so people could have the money in their pockets this winter to fight things like the inflation effect on their cost of living, heating bills, and the like. Homeowners pay, on average, almost $9,300 in property taxes, something the governor alluded to himself, while median prices for a single-family home have reached $500,000 and above in 9 counties. The cost of living in New Jersey has increased by $17,500 over the past 5 years, according to the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development data, which puts us far ahead of most other states. And it makes it much more difficult for people to afford to live in the state of New Jersey. About 25,000 more people moved out of New Jersey than moved in between July 1st, 2021 and 2022. We lead in that category as well. Census data does prove that out. Frankly, that's not a statistic we want to win in. We need to make New Jersey more affordable. And year after year, it's become more expensive to live here, not strictly, but mostly because taxes are too high. Nearly 200 school districts lost more than $185 million of funding last year. That doesn't help property taxpayers in New Jersey. The governor failed to mention that second quarter GDP was negative. Does he want to take credit for that too? He did brag about last quarter's going up, but we did have a negative in the second quarter. Our plan rolls back inflationary costs levied on income taxpayers who are paying more than ever. By indexing the tax brackets for inflation back to the year 2000 would create a permanent, sustainable, built in the system, $1,600 a year cut in income taxes to a family earning $110,000 a year. And that's real money that would stay in their pockets, not something like another rebate, which we have now, that could dwindle and fade away in the next recession. Something that people could rely on to keep the money in their pocket to fight back against the high cost of living in New Jersey. It would eliminate the $50,000 tax bracket for joint filers, creating a marriage tax penalty into the tax code. Just because people are married making that amount of money, they have to pay more taxes. That's a simple one. That's an easy lift. It should be done in one bill right away. It would increase the renter's deduction to 30%, saving the average tenant over $2,000. That's real money to people who don't own their own houses that perhaps they could be putting away so they can live the American dream and be able to afford a house someday. And also, our plan calls to gradually lower the corporate business tax from 11.5% to 2.5% over 4 years, similar to what North Carolina has done. They have the lowest in the nation tax on businesses. And the governor alluded to a sort of slanted, favored system that we do have now. You know, for like out of the hundreds of thousands, over 900,000 businesses in New Jersey, some 400 benefit by the special tax breaks that he alluded to. We would have a much fairer business climate in New Jersey should we be able to work on having a sustainable long-term cut in the corporate business tax. We should have cut the surcharge out a year ago or 2 years ago, not wait until it expires. If you want to incentivize business in New Jersey, let's cut the corporate business tax. We'll create more jobs in New Jersey, and people will stay here. We lose people all the time. Young folks that go through our K through and now 3-year-old through 12 school system. We probably spend $200,000 plus on that education. They leave state. They go to another state for college. They find out, well, I'm in North Carolina. I can get a job here for the same company as New Jersey, but I can keep a lot of more of my money in my pocket and have a better quality of life for my family. We need to be thinking in those terms, letting people enjoy the fruits of their labor, make New Jersey more affordable, and we will have better outcomes than the ratio of 400 businesses out of over 900,000 getting a small break in New Jersey. With that, I'd like to introduce my counterpart, the Senate Republican leader, my good friend and partner, Steve Oroho.
Thanks, John. Thank you, John. As John said, thank you very much for being here today. Despite the rosy picture Governor Murphy is trying to paint, the state of the state is not good. And after 5 years of the Murphy administration and 2 decades of full Democrat control of the legislature, the outlook for New Jersey continues to get worse. We have the highest taxes, the most debt, and the worst business climate in the nation. Every year when national rankings come out, New Jersey is dead last. We have a budget process that's out of control, with spending up nearly 50% since Governor Murphy took office. Democrats continue to show no shame in tacking on billions in pork every year with no legitimate review or oversight. While they're busy wasting billions of dollars on pet projects, they fail to effectively manage the cost of benefits for hundreds of thousands of public workers. This year, that's resulted in huge increases in health care premiums for local governments that will lead to spikes in property taxes across New Jersey. And over the last 3 years, they've squandered billions in pandemic relief funds that New Jersey received through CARES and the American Rescue Plan Acts. Instead of solving big problems with those federal relief funds, like fixing our broken unemployment and motor vehicle computer systems, Democrats have absolutely nothing to show for the windfall we received. We have to ask, where did it go? Under President Biden, New Jersey families continue to struggle with the highest inflation in a generation, and that continues to be made worse by the economic fallout from Governor Murphy's job-killing pandemic restrictions. The governor's trying to increase the financial pain even more with an absurdly expensive green energy plan that New Jersey families and businesses simply cannot afford. He wants families to spend tens of thousands of dollars and businesses millions of dollars to replace their clean, efficient, and affordable gas appliances with electric versions that cost 4 times more to operate. The result will be huge increases in energy bills. The governor's energy plan calls for massive wind farms to be built within sight of many beaches along the Jersey shore. That will put New Jersey's $45 billion tourism economy at risk, including 500,000 jobs that support families in our shore communities and beyond. We also have a pandemic-related learning loss in our schools that the Murphy administration refuses to address, and made worse by school funding cuts that Leader DiMaio had spoke about the hundreds of school districts enacted by the Democrat legislative majority. Instead of focusing on improving student achievement in reading, writing, and math, Governor Murphy and Democrats have politicized our schools by injecting their radical ideologies into state education standards, which ends up being a time-wasting distraction in our children's classrooms. Parents are upset, and rightly so. They feel like they have been denied a voice in their children's education, and they have been mocked and chastised by Democrats when they've come to Trenton to express concern. Those parents deserve to be heard. We also have a major crime problem in many of our communities, including soaring rates of car theft. Our crime problem certainly wasn't helped by Governor Murphy's early release of thousands of inmates from our prisons or restrictions he and Democrats placed on police that prevent them from stopping rowdy mobs of teens who are visibly breaking the law. Instead of standing up for the rights of citizens to protect themselves and live in safe communities, the governor and Trenton Democrats have enacted unconstitutional restrictions on law-abiding firearm owners. Just yesterday, a federal judge issued a scathing rebuke, along with a restraining order to prevent parts of that unconstitutional law, which we spoke and told the administration that it was unconstitutional, from being enforced. So whether you're talking about our state's high taxes, out-of-control spending, our dismal business climate, rising energy bills, lack of support for students, lack of respect for parents, rising crime, or attacks on constitutional rights, all at the direct result of Democrat policies, it should be clear we can do better. Governor Murphy can start by listening to Republicans who have offered time and again sensible solutions to all these problems. New Jersey may be on the wrong track for now, but Republicans are showing it doesn't have to stay that way. And to summarize, I would say the state of the state. I would say extreme, extreme, extreme. Abortion to the day of birth, energy master plan 4 times more costly to families and businesses, inappropriate sex education, handcuffing law enforcement instead of criminals, worst in the nation taxes. The state of the state, this is extreme, extreme, extreme. And I would just add by saying, New Jersey's always been cool to come to. But if the governor and this administration listens to the Republican plans, it'll get even cooler. Thank you.